Live on 5 News and streaming on 5 Plus, this is a weather impact alert.
Well, we start right now at noon by taking a live look outside in Bentonville. You can just tell it's a stormy day out there. And on this weather impact alert day, if you're there right now, it's very obvious. I mean, it's been a lot's been going on all across the area.
Yeah, so far today we've had thunderstorms this morning. Pretty much since then they've remained below the severe limits, but it's been loud outside. We've had a lot of rainfall. Unfortunately, that's increased that flooding threat for today as well. And now we're just waiting. By the time we get late this afternoon, early evening hours, that's when we could have more severe weather back into the forecast. Radar looks like this right now. All this polygons you see across the screen, that's that flash flood warning across northwest Arkansas, parts of the river valley as well. We've had a lot of heavy rainfall, a lot of those thunderstorms trending across the same area over and over again, leading to that flooding threat. Of course, that's what's also been in the forecast for the past couple of days. That Friday and Saturday, we knew we were going to pick up a lot of rainfall, but also that severe threat as well. Weather impact alert again this afternoon, evening hours is when we could welcome back in the chances of some of that severe weather. Now, where exactly that's going to land has changed a little bit, but not much. Still thinking that most of that threat is going to be across the river valley, especially further south and east you live. We're talking places like Johnson, Logan, Scott, into parts of LaFleur, into Sebastian and Franklin County. That is that level 4 out of 5 risk, and that's specifically highlighting the chances for some tornadoes. You see the threat across northwest Arkansas, not that high. Yes, we do have that low and elevated risk across parts of Madison into Carroll County as well, and then even parts of the river valley going into eastern Oklahoma. But really, those counties that I just mentioned, further south and east you live, Johnson, Logan, Scott, Franklin, into Sebastian and parts of LaFleur, that's where that highest risk for some rotation is going to be by the time we get late this afternoon into the early evening hours. Zinking anywhere after, let's say 3 p.m. going into the evening, that's where that threat's going to be. Of course, central Arkansas even has that higher threat for today. Futurecast shows us this. Again, on and off scattered showers, isolated thunderstorms continue for us by the time we go on throughout the rest of this afternoon. But late this afternoon, we're thinking right around 3 o'clock, that's when we could see some of those isolated thunderstorms back into the forecast, and that's where we could see some of that severe weather, especially moving into an environment that over the past couple hours hasn't had much of any of those thunderstorms or rainfall out there. It's been cloudy, and that may help us out, but it's still been pretty inactive. You're seeing those dew points already climb. By the time we get to later this afternoon, going to be higher as well. Models aren't perfect, right? But if this were to be perfect, this played out exactly how it's painted here, my concern would be where those isolated cells all by them lonesome would be. That can rotate very quickly. That's what would lead to that elevated tornado risk for today, especially by the time we get later on this evening, though. That's where we're going to see that greatest chance for some rotation, those damaging winds, even some large hail in the forecast. Of course, as it continues to push off towards the east, that threat gets higher. Unfortunately, even after this event is done, the severe weather threat is done. That's a good news for us, but just as dangerous is that flooding threat. We're done with the rainfall by the time we get late this evening, but going into Saturday morning, we have another day full of those rain chances. That's going to lead to some localized flooding, unfortunately, especially near those streams, creeks, near those rivers, low-lying areas. That is, unfortunately, we're going to have lots of flooding. Flood watch continues until Sunday morning. We'll talk about those latest threats that we know about coming up this evening, show you the storm fuel, where it's going to set up at, and what we think we're in store for the rest of our Friday. That's all coming up.
Thanks, Stephen. And we've got you covered during the severe weather season on our free 5 News app. There you can find live radar and get updates from our weather team. And we've also put together an interactive map of where to find tornado shelters where you live. Just click on the icon there and it'll give you the address for this. You can find this on our website, 5newsonline.com. And we can also send that map straight to your phone. Just text the word shelters to that number right there on your screen, 479-785-5000. There are also a few other ways we can keep you up to date during this weather event. For the latest weather updates from our weather team, just text the word weather to the same number, or if you want to download 5 Plus to watch our weather team track the system live, text the word plus. Again, you see that number, 479-785-5000. Well, new at noon, the weather is impacting traffic. Due to the heavy rain, RDOT has closed the I-49 southbound ramp that's near West Fork. This is a look at the scene out there. They're not allowing through traffic. Stay with 5 News as we continue to monitor these weather impacts on the roads and the traffic conditions. This afternoon, flooding, as you see there, it's closed several roads in Washington County as well. Sheriff's deputies have taped off Black Oak Road and Parker Branch Road. The city of West Fork tells us Dye Creek Road is closed. And the city of Fort Smith says it's preparing for flooding in those prone areas there. Our team is working on an updated list of road closures. You'll be able to find that on our website, 5newsonline.com. And of course, authorities say never drive through flood water. Well, the Army Corps of Engineers say flood warnings we're seeing around Arkansas, they're not something to take lightly. A spokesperson says the creeks and the streams that feed into the Arkansas River are full, and by this weekend, we should actually see the river itself rise.
We could see flows upwards of 300,000 cubic feet per second. And so to put that in perspective, before this event started, we were somewhere around 10,000 cubic feet per second. And so the river's going to get pretty big this weekend.
Even though that's less than what we saw in 2019, Townsend says this is still going to be significant. He expects some smaller levees to overtop. And a Smart Growth Water Conference is happening this week in Elm Springs. Utility providers and city leaders are using the conference to figure out the best ways to deal with issues like stormwater runoff as the area grows. Rogers Community Development Director says the goal is to look at a data-driven approach that minimizes the cost to taxpayers.
Stormwater challenges in Northwest Arkansas that are becoming more and more acute as we densify, as we grow, as we build more stuff and cover up more dirt and reduce the available paths for rain to travel on after it hits the earth. And so as you develop, it becomes more and more of a challenge.
The city of Fayetteville is implementing a stormwater fee for property owners that will go to addressing stormwater impacts from that rapid development. And with the threat of more rain and thunderstorms, downtown Bentonville has decided to cancel First Friday for this evening. The spring event season will continue with the beginning of the Bentonville Farmers Market on April 12th, and then First Friday presented by Walmart will now return on May 2nd. Well, Wall Street opened sharply lower again as China announced new retaliatory measures in response to President Trump's latest tariffs. On Thursday, the markets experienced the largest single-day drop since the COVID-19 pandemic. Natalie Brand has the latest.
China announced Friday it will hit the U.S. with a 34% across-the-board tariff on U.S. goods next week, as the Trump administration's new reciprocal tariffs are set to take effect.
We need to get back to a time where we're a country that can make things, and to do that, we have to reset the global order of trade.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio, traveling for NATO meetings, dismissed the stock market slumping.
Ultimately, the markets, as long as they know what the rules are going to be moving forward, and as long as that's set and you can sustain where you're going to be, the markets will adjust.
Among Americans worried, farmer John Boyd Jr.
Other countries are going to start to look for different places to start to buy soybeans and corn and wheat. Brazil is right behind us in production.
President Trump signaled he's open to making trade deals.
Tariffs give us great power to negotiate.
As the White House tries to downplay the fallout, top Democratic lawmakers are also questioning the administration's move to fire the head of the National Security Agency and U.S. Cyber Command.
The protection of our own source and method.
CBS News has learned General Timothy Haas, seen here testifying on Capitol Hill, was ousted Thursday. His firing follows President Trump's Oval Office meeting with controversial right-wing personality Laura Loomer. She posted on social media this morning that President Trump needs an NSA director he trusts. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
CBS News has learned at least 6 staffers with the National Security Council were also fired earlier Thursday. When asked by reporters, President Trump downplayed Loomer's influence on the firings and said his administration is, quote, always letting go of people. Well, here at home, 3 days and 3 no votes. For the 3rd time, state lawmakers have opposed an appropriations bill concerning that proposed Franklin County prison. This comes as the Board of Corrections continues to move forward with their plans for the 3,000-bed facility. On Thursday, the board unanimously approved the preliminary schedule for approving contractors and the request for proposals for a general contractor for the new prison. The request for proposal details the required guidelines contractors interested in bidding for the new prison must meet. It's important to note Veneer Construction has been confirmed as a managing contractor for the entire project, but other smaller contractors for design and engineering can also apply for specific roles. The board also agreed that any change to plans that would increase costs by $250,000 in the budget would need to be pre-approved and voted on by the board.
We're not just going to get, well, the budget is X dollars. Here's the finished product, please approve, and it's this much below or above whatever the project budget is. What you're going to get is these things that are funneling up that affect a piece of the design process. And that is where then you as the board will say, okay, tell us what went into this. Here's what anything amounts to going into this part of the project. And then at the end, you'll have the full design.
The approved schedule says contractors can begin submitting proposals on April 8th. They also confirmed the Board of Corrections for that new facility will include a representative from the governor and from the Board of Corrections.